Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, well-known radio sports personality Bruce McGowan, and Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX-TV in San Francisco. Today's show is going to be pretty special because we're going to talk about so many topics, or we're going to try to cover a whole bunch of topics. And also, at each commercial break, we're going to be giving away 3 vacations for answering sports trivia questions. And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And the vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. And you can listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sports Byline USA, and CRN. Today's trivia theme is going to be NCAA upsets, since we are in the March Madness. And let's see, what kind of topics, I'm just going to run through them. If we get a chance to talk about all of them, great. If not, we'll try to cover them on the future show. Michael Vick, the lack of interest during free agency, is his NFL career over? I like Mark Cuban's idea about having the fourth worst team get the first round pick. That way teams don't try to tank at the end. 38-year-old Peyton Manning just completed his physical a little while ago. Is he worth $20 million? Lance Armstrong, he may have to give his bonuses back. We'll talk a little bit about that. 30-year-old Brent Grimes, cornerback for the Dolphins, signs a 4-year, $32 million deal after recovering from a torn Achilles in 2012. Kareem looking to go back to the Milwaukee Bucks. They do need him to play center, but I think he's going to be looking to be a coach. Jose Fernandez, Marlins pitcher, can throw 103 miles an hour. And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding 8% secured by real estate. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Also, our friends at OARS, O-A-R-S, Whitewater Rafting. Check them out. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Hashtag been too long.
Okay, and Bruce McGowan.
I don't know what to add to that.
Okay. All right, Vern, you wanted to talk about the NCAA.
Let's do it, man.
Okay, because that's
68 come in, and only one walks away.
Well, and tell us what's going on. Why is SMU not in the tournament?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm sure Larry Brown has a lot of answers, but everybody thought SMU, Southern Methodist University, was just a shoo-in because they were beating everybody. I mean, they were like the darlings, and then they lose their last 3 games, and I guess game within the game, they were like one of the first 4 out, so they're not a part of it. They're the top seed in the NIT, which stands for not invited tournament.
It's funny too because the NIT used to be a big deal.
It used to be the thing, yeah.
Back in the 1970s, even as recently as the 70s, it was a big deal.
Didn't DePaul one time in like the 60s they said no to the NCAA to play in the NIT?
Yeah. It was a big deal.
That was amazing.
And if I remember correctly, what's the only team that's ever won both in the same year?
Ooh, the same year?
The same year.
I didn't realize you could play in both in the same year.
It was a long, long time ago.
Okay.
City College in New York.
Oh, yes.
No kidding.
Early
CCNY.
Yeah. Weren't they involved in some kind of scandal, too, way back in the day? I think there was some kind of awful
Anything in New York.
Point-shaving scandal.
Did they use the peach baskets back then?
And 2-handed set shots.
They cut the hole out of the bottom of the peach baskets?
I tell you something, I feel old because whenever I watch these old vintage movies from the 50s and 60s, you see some guys still throwing the 2-handed overhead set shot. Yeah. I learned how to do that when I was a kid. I threw it up from the chest. Yeah, and I was very good at it, too.
Well, if you practice
bend the knees and release.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There was an old lady who was one of the first, like, quote, women college basketball players. And they were explaining about how the rules said that the women could only dribble for a third of the court.
That's right.
They had to pass.
Well, also they had that rule. The women had that rule where you had 3 people on offense and 3 on defense, and your 3 defensive players, once they passed the ball forward, they couldn't go across the midcourt line. They had to get it to the other 3. It was like 2 different teams were playing.
It might be too much on their heart to run that much, right?
I guess they didn't consult James Naismith
Not
those rules.
exactly.
Did you guys see that 30 for 30 on
No.
Naismith? The original rules of
No, I
basketball.
missed it.
It went to Sotheby's at auction, and it was between a high roller from Duke and a high roller from Kansas.
Oh, I did hear about that.
And
yeah.
Naismith
Yeah.
was a former college coach at Kansas.
Kansas.
So they felt the rules of basketball
Should be in Kansas.
should be at Kansas.
Wait,
I
did
did hear about
the
that,
Duke
yeah.
guy outbid the Kansas guy?
No, the Kansas guy.
Oh, he made
outbid
sure.
the
Huh?
Duke guy, but Bruce, it went for like 4.2 million.
Of
or something.
course. Well, they have to
It was
have
amazing.
That's
And
like
they had
having the Bible.
and they had a camera on these two guys bidding. I mean, and they were really. I mean, they.
more of
you
an
know,
ego thing.
It'd be like 3.7. Then we'd go to the next guy. The next guy would look at his financial person. And,
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have that kind of
3.9.
money? If you had that kind of money just to throw around, wouldn't that be great?
If I had that money, I'd throw mine away.
Yeah.
So, getting back to this NCAA tournament with regard to how this works, who does the inviting? Because you know that there's got to be some not only politics in it, but they got to look at the money, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they got to say, hey, we got to have Duke in there because that's going to bring in money.
Yeah.
Versus
You want to have the big teams they're going to bring the big
there's a
number of fans.
there's a basketball committee, and they're in this room, and it takes hours, and it's like, hey, look, we got a field of 68, which includes 4 teams that play in the play-in game to create the field of 64. And then they know, okay, there's a certain amount of automatic bids, which goes to the conference champion.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's they look at the RPI ranking, the strength of schedule, and then they look at just the power of the teams. And the big-time conferences that have the stronger teams with the stronger strength of schedule always are the ones that get in. The ACC, they said 6. Pac-12 got 6. Atlantic 10, I believe, got 7.
Mm.
And it just kind of SEC 6. So it just kind of goes on from there.
So you got the Final Four, you've got Elite 8, you got Sweet 16. What's 32 called?
I don't know. You
I
make
don't
it
know.
to the second round. Well, what's great though is that if theoretically, if you get in there, you have a chance. Of course, you lose one game and you're gone. That's the beauty of it. I think the great teams can falter. I remember we were talking about this off air back in 1994. Cal had Jason Kidd, Lamont Murray. They were ranked 12th. They go in as a number 1 seed and they lose in the first round to Wisconsin, Green Bay. Things like that happen. It's wonderful drama.
Let's go back to even further. How about Steve Nash and Santa Clara, a 15, beating a 2 in Arizona?
I remember that.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that was amazing.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Maybe Arizona was number 1.
I think they were.
No, that can't be. No, 15's got to play.
Well,
a
they
2.
were. They were up there. I
And
mean,
to
they
this
might have
day,
been one of the
and
pack.
to this day, a
Pac-10.
16 has never beaten a 1
Really?
in the men's side.
Yeah. So
It's
I
happened in
guess
the women's side, but
I
not
was
in
gonna
the
say,
men's.
Cal wouldn't have been number 1 seed, but they were number 2. That was just an awful loss. I remember going to that game and covering it in Salt Lake City. What the heck is going on here? But that's the beauty of college basketball.
Well, and
So I filled
what's
out
the big
my bracket. I've got Louisville, last year's champion, playing against Florida,
Ooh,
with Florida winning.
Florida winning.
Yeah.
They have a very good team, don't they?
Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, powerful team.
I just never think of Florida.
Well, like
Of course,
25 in
now,
a row.
think about it now. Florida is the center for basketball. The 2-time defending champion Miami Heat and Florida University.
And I got to give it up to our
Or
listeners
University of Florida.
in the Wichita State area. I'm real sorry. You got like the toughest bracket draw. You got your number 1 seed, but boy, the road to get there is. I mean, they got Kentucky's in there. I mean,
Not
there's
fair.
And then it was
Yeah.
well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled off some great upset wins too. They were really a fun team to watch.
I don't care what conference you play in. You go 34-0.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, come on.
Please, give
You
them a
know?
break.
And who's the big upset you're talking
I
about?
got the first round upset. I got Harvard
Harvard.
beating Cincinnati.
Ooh,
That's what I got.
Harvard.
Don't
beating
tell Oscar
Cincinnati.
Robertson.
yeah. Oscar would
He's
not
still
like
around,
that.
isn't he?
Oh, yeah. The Big O.
I remember when Oscar did the color analysis with Brent Musburger on the NBA championships, and the Warriors were playing in that championship, and I covered the first 2 games or middle 2 games in San Francisco. But I remember Oscar got so excited that when Rick Barry would make a shot, he'd go, "Oh!" like that.
Oh, that was his insightful analysis.
Yeah. And as you might
I
imagine,
didn't do
Oscar wasn't around the next year. Brent Musburger, of course, has survived a long time.
I love it when I love it when the color analyst overstates the obvious. The team's down 2, and they got the ball, and the time's running down, and the analyst says, they got to score this time. Oh, really?
They got to score.
Really?
Speaking of that, what's this expression? They've got to score the basketball.
Yeah, and that's something and they enunciate. Can you,
And not
can
only
you
that,
dribble the basketball?
Yeah, here, Mark
Can you
Jackson.
distribute the basketball? He can shoot
Yeah.
the basketball.
I mean, I love Mark Jackson, the Warrior coach. I go to a lot of Warrior games, and I hear him say after the game, "We've got to score the basketball more." Yeah, exactly. You got to score, and you got to put the basketball through the net. I guess score the basketball.
Well, wasn't Doug Collins the guy? I think it was Doug Collins who said, right? I think every time we score more than 100 points and they score less than 100 points, we have a good shot at winning.
Really? Gosh, coach.
Brilliant.
I pay you $4 million a year for that.
Jeez.
Speaking of millions, how about yeah.
What did he get, by the way? $4 million a year? $8 million
Jackson?
A year? Is he getting? He's getting $8 million a year, right?
He's getting $12 million.
Add those two together.
Now, Bruce, we're talking about the New York Knickerbockers.
And working for James Dolan, who's one of the biggest dolts in the history of the NBA. That guy is a complete buffoon.
Yeah, but he's got Phil Jackson now. Now Phil
true.
probably came in and looked at Nolan and said, just go in the corner and count your money.
Yeah.
I'll run the team.
Yeah, but you still have to have good players, though.
Yeah, you do. Chris Cohen, though, the former Warrior owner, is probably saying to himself, darn it, I thought Dolan was going to be worse than me. Now he might not be so bad.
Already put out a challenge to Carmelo Anthony saying, hey, boy, Carmelo Anthony, for as great a player as he is, he can play at a higher level.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, how about that?
Raise the bar, baby.
That's right.
Here's a good question. Well, Mark Jackson of the Warriors ended up in New York, where he played so many years and where he is from.
There are rumors to that effect.
I hope Warriors keep him.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a good guy. All right, NCAA upsets. Here, that's the trivia theme. We're going to our first commercial break here. This is an easy one. Kentucky was stunned by which all African American starting
Oh,
in
yes.
1966. We always have to have one easy one. National championship. Bonus. What is the school known by now?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Kentucky was stunned by which all African-American starting lineup team in the 1966 National Championship? They made a movie out of it. Very nice movie.
Glory Road.
That's right. Love that movie. Okay. Don't touch that dial. And then the bonus, what is the school known by now? Because the name has actually changed. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back.
And they're known as UTEP now, but they were known as
Very good.
School of Mines or something like that.
No, it was like
Texas.
It was like Texas Southern or something like that. Something like
Who played for Kentucky? Remember who played for Kentucky?
Yes.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
Yeah, Rick Adelman.
I didn't know that.
I later saw Pat Riley at a Miami Heat shoot-around because they come to USF for the shoot-around. And I had just seen that movie and I talked about it.
Adolph Rupp was the coach of
Adolph Rupp.
Yeah.
Adolph Rupp. You know what his comment was? He said, somebody asked him, when are you going to have a black player on the University of Kentucky? He goes, we'll have a black player when the Harlem Globetrotters have a white player.
Yeah.
Jeez. What a stupid.
But there was a movie.
He started recruiting African Americans
Well,
after that.
kind of like what's his face down at Alabama, the football coach, Bear Bryant. Same thing. Took him a while, but
Well, the story behind that is he wanted African American players, but the system.
Bear Bryant did.
Yeah. The system wouldn't allow him to do it, and that's why he scheduled a game against USC.
Yeah. That was what
at Alabama. USC
68?
came in with Sam Bam Cunningham and beat the shit out of him.
early 70s. What?
That was
72, 74.
It was either early 70s or like 69 or something like that.
That's right, because they didn't integrate until the early 70s.
OJ had left.
Yeah.
So Sam Cunningham was the next big back.
God, that's hard to believe that Alabama did not integrate until the early 70s.
That's amazing.
Jesus.
If you get a chance, it's kind of a B-rated movie called The Pistol. It's about Pete Maravich.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
And his dad, Press Maravich, he's coaching, and eventually at the very, very end, they play a team from, like another high school team of all black players, and it's a very close game and all that, because Press Maravich is kind of going, this is the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a cute kid.
Yeah.
The kid can play ball, little Pete. He's not a very good actor, but he's pretty good.
But they probably got a high school or a college. That's what they
His
usually do.
ability to pass was just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, that's.
Did you think about it? Not to get off on a tangent, but the guy who played with Pete Maravich, he played in the same teams as Pete Maravich, as Earl Monroe, Bill Russell, Rick Barry, Dr. J, and Elvin Hayes. You'll never guess who it was. Jim Barnett. Played with 6 different teams, and he played with all those guys.
I mean, he was decent. decent.
Yeah, decent player. Yeah, he's like a good sixth man.
So he was the #1 pick of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah. And he got there. They won 9 championships in a row. They didn't win. Then he gets traded, and they win 2 more.
Yeah. He thought, hey, well, I'll just be part. I'll get an old.
He leaves the Warriors. The next year they win the championship. So he always used.
Can you believe that? He's with the Celtics. His rookie year, gets traded, and the Celtics win the next year.
That's got to be really frustrating.
What he said, he said that because Bill Russell was the player coach, and so his pregame speech was something to the effect of, "All right, who playing tonight?"
Oh, not those guys.
Yeah, well.
Who is it?
Well, let's go out there and kick ass.
Just kick ass.
That was it. And then he called timeout and he'd come over because he'd go to Sam Jones and go, Sam, you're not running. And he goes, Bill, I'm running. He goes, no, I know when you're running, you're not running. Barnett, go in for Sam.
Coach, we're ahead 45 points with 3 minutes to go. Still not running.
Real quickly, here, what Barnett told me this great story. When he played with the Rockets, Elvin Hayes was a young player, great young player, but he was undisciplined, and he hated the coach named Jack McMahon. And Jack McMahon, during a game, kept feeding Elvin the ball, and Elvin kept dropping it, letting it go out of bounds. He called a timeout. He goes, Elvin, what's going on? You're not catching the ball. He goes, I'm catching the ball. He goes, no, you're not. I'm taking you out of the game. Fuck you. You're going to be gone by next week anyway.
And he was.
And he was.
And he was.
And Jim Barnett didn't like Elvin Hayes, and he said something to him once. He goes, Elvin chased me through an airport lobby. He says, but I was too fast for him to catch.
Jim Barnett was too fast?
And then he said he was the biggest asshole, and he wasted his talent. And then he goes, but he became a great player because what finally happened to him was that Alex Hannum came in to coach. And Alex was a big guy, and he was doing the same nonsense in practice. So Alex Hannum told everybody else to leave. And when he came back, he said Elvin, who had been like kind of lollygagging, was shooting layups and running around. And Elvin told him later when they became friends because they did. Because Elvin. Alex Hannum grabbed me by the shirt, pushed me up against the wall, and he goes, you're going to fucking play like the rest of these guys or I'm going to kick your ass. And Alvin was like just a kid's talk. Whoa, man.
Well, if your coach is big enough, we're talking John Thompson.
Yeah.
Alex,
can you imagine trying to challenge John Thompson? I don't think so.
No, John Thompson was smooth.
Man.
Yeah, he was intimidating.
All right.
Hoya paranoia.
Hoya paranoia.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
Seal here, seal there, and right up the middle.
Where's that come from?
Vince Lombardi.
Oh,
there you go.
That's the power sweep.
Power sweep again, and Bruce McGowan.
Everybody's holding. There's Lombardi again.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have a Vince Lombardi trivia theme here. Okay, but right now we're talking NCAA upsets. Kentucky was stunned by which all-African-American starting lineup in the team in the 1966 National Championship? And you got the bonus. What's the bonus? What's they called now? What are they called now?
Well, they're called UTEP.
UTEP.
But I don't know what they were called back in the day.
Texas and
Do you remember what they were called back in the day?
I believe it was Texas Western.
Yes!
Texas Western.
Very
there you
good.
go.
And in Casey Kasem stuff, the year was 1965.
65. You know what's interesting about that, too, was
66.
that Pat Riley and Rick Adelman, 2 future NBA coaches, played for Kentucky, and Adolph Rupp, who had coached for many, many years there, was asked, why don't you have a black player in your team? He goes, we'll have a black player in our team when the Harlem Globetrotters bring in a white player, which was the stupidest thing anybody could ever say. But it just showed you what an idiot he was. He was a great coach, though, but, I mean, just in terms of human relations, the guy.
I bet he probably changed over time.
He probably
no, you kidding me?
Well, they say George Wallace actually changed.
Yeah,
I don't think. Privately? No.
Privately,
Publicly?
no. Publicly, yes.
Okay.
But maybe after he got shot, he changed. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of softened
And one last thing about, because we're still kind of on the basketball theme here, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Lou Alcindor.
Lou Alcindor looking to go back to the Milwaukee Bucks. I hope as a center, but I don't think so. He's looking to be a coach. Or any
really?
capacity
Yeah, he's been trying that for years.
He's about 70 years old, though, isn't he, Bert?
Yeah,
came up in '69.
We had him in studio a few months ago. He looks fantastic.
Yeah, well, he's a yoga practitioner. He's really into yoga. He's an interesting guy. When he played, if you walked up to him after a game and interviewed him, he wouldn't get much of an interview. He wouldn't dismiss you, but he'd give you this kind of glassy-eyed look and give you these really monotone, short answers. And the writers used to just hate talking to him because he would give them nothing. But if you got him away from the arena, apparently he was just a fascinating guy.
Years ago, I had a client who was some kind of an NBA coach, assistant coach or something, training stuff. And we talked about this. I talked about the various training things, and he said that one of the reasons that Jabbar either never or hardly ever got hurt.
Never got hurt.
He never lifted weights.
Yeah, he was big into yoga and running and jumping.
So heavy jump rope.
Yeah, like a boxer. Yeah.
And he was in one of the great fight scenes with Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah.
In the movie Faces of Death.
Faces of Death.
Yeah, and he was telling me they shot it in like Shanghai or something like that, and it was really noisy outside, so they closed all the windows. It was hot as hell.
Well, what's he like to interview recently? You talked to him more recently. Has he changed?
I've interviewed him twice. Once on radio, not so good.
Yeah.
But this was, I don't know, it's almost 20 years ago. I interviewed him on radio. But this time he was in. He was
television
selling something.
Yeah.
We had him on the TV side, and he was quite engaging.
That's the one we have the picture on Sports.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
That's the thing about older guys. Once they get away from the game for a while, they forget that the media is not there to hurt them. That it's actually there to help them.
Yeah.
And the smart guys, you'll remember Gary Carter, just as an example. That guy was an interviewer's dream. He'd come to you, he'd get to know you, your first name. He was like Vernon. He was friendly.
Yeah.
Vernon is the friendliest guy we've ever known in the media. I can say that with pure honesty, because I've known Vernon a long time. Vernon doesn't big time anybody, and I think that Gary Carter was beloved for that reason as well.
I just soften him up, and then I can ask the tough.
Yeah, you sneak in there.
That's
you sneak in.
Well, it says here, although he spent most of his glory days with the Lakers, he was drafted by
the Milwaukee Bucks.
And he spent 5 seasons there.
And won a championship there.
That's right. It says here, and here's a note: the Bucks' title it was their 3rd year of expansion made them the fastest team to earn a title in any major sports.
It's amazing.
And even before that, I mean, this guy was a high school phenom from Power Memorial High School in New York City, and then he just Rucker Park legend. I mean, it just the stories about him just go on and on.
He just was the guy. Really, I mean, UCLA had some great players, but you think of all the great players that came through UCLA, this guy was the best.
He was in an episode. Speaking of UCLA, he was in an episode of Mannix. I know I'm dating myself.
Yeah.
Remember
with Mike Connors.
With Mike Connors,
and Lee Merriweather.
Yes, and the Joe Mannix character was a former basketball player at the UCLA, and there's a scene where Mannix he's investigating a murder or something like that. Anyway, for some reason he's at Pauley Pavilion and shooting baskets is Lou Alcindor and a little speaking part. It was great.
Okay, do you remember Lee Majors and the $6 Million Man?
Of course.
Sure. There was an episode with Larry Zonka.
Really?
Yeah.
Larry Zonka.
I believe. I think there were several NFLers. Weren't they after him? They were like.
Exactly.
They were like inmates in prison or something like that.
I love it. Larry Zonka is an inmate in prison. He was a tough guy.
Let's see. One last thing on basketball still. Mark Cuban came up with this idea about let the 4th worst team get the first round draft pick. That way teams don't try to tank at the end of the season.
That's right. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Because how many teams do that?
Well, and there's no guarantee, even if you get the top pick, that you're going to get the right guy. I mean,
ask the Philadelphia 76ers at the time we're doing the show. What is it, 21 in a row, something like that?
Boy.
Yeah. It wasn't, or with the NBA, don't they do like lottery with like
that's true.
Balls?
Yeah, you get a better chance.
Yeah, it's weighted so that the team with the worst record would have the best chance.
And the first year that happened, the Warriors had the worst record in the league, and they didn't get the most balls, but they ended up getting Chris Mullin, which was not a bad deal. I remember Al Atlas was so flabbergasted about that, and then they got Chris Mullin. It was like, oh well, it's not so bad after all.
From St. John's.
Yeah, that's
the only reason I know that is because I watched that 30 for 30 episode on ESPN about the Big East.
Oh, there you go.
It was very interesting. Okay, Michael Vick. Lack of interest during free agency. Is his NFL career over?
No, somebody will pick him up.
He's in his mid-30s, and for some reason, people are enamored with Michael Vick. And I think there was talk of that he could be a Viking. There's talk that maybe he would even come to Oakland and be with the Raiders. Because I think people are in love with the thought that, hey, this could be like the Michael Vick of old, who could just take off running and use his legs and whatever.
Maybe he's dogging it.
What you look at?
That's all. Edward Bad. That's bad.
Wouldn't you like to see him in Oakland? No, he kind of. I mean, because Oakland is not supposed to do anything, and they're always they've had this horrible reputation of late. It'd be the perfect place for him to come. Nobody expects anything.
I just think it's interesting in the case of the Raiders. They get all this cap money, more money than anybody, and there was always talk about, well, we're going to tear down and rebuild and build for the future. You're signing a bunch of guys that you could say are have their best years behind them.
Yeah, they've got a lot of veterans. It kind of reminds me of what they did in the late '90s, and they built up a pretty good team. But they had Rich Gannon, who was just hitting his prime years, who had never gotten a chance to play, and they had a great offensive line. And I brought in guys like Romanowski and Rod Woodson and Jerry Rice, and they got a lot out of them. But this team doesn't have that kind of foundation.
I think as badly as they want to tear down and rebuild with draft picks that are ready to play now, I think realistically in the back room where nobody's looking, I think they're thinking, hey, look, man, we gotta do what we can to just start winning. Now we have to create an environment where people want to be a part of this, and maybe only then can we start to really build for the draft and bring in guys and develop.
Who was that offensive lineman who was just a beast, but I think he got hurt?
Jared Valdir, who got away and went to Arizona.
And now he's with the Arizona Cardinals.
That was a terrible loss for the Raiders. And then they get Roger Saffold lined up, and they're ready to sign him, and he has a bad shoulder. But he re-signs with St. Louis, which leads you to believe the Raiders are so afraid of being burned by a free agent who's hurt.
Well, that was Mark Davis's call.
Yeah,
I think there was any threat of some kind of a labrum injury, and he just backed off. But that's just too bad because they had flown in his parents.
Yeah,
they're all ready to kind of and this is left tackle. This is the glamour spot on the offensive line.
What's sad about the Raiders is there's a culture of losing there that's existed seemingly forever because it's only been since 2002, which is 12 years ago. That is forever in this day and age. I mean, you think about it. They have not had a winning team, a team that's been in the playoffs since 2002.
Which brings to mind, how do the Patriots do it?
Yeah.
They've been at the top.
Spygate.
Year in and year out. Spygate, whatever you want to call it. But, I mean, when you're at the top, you're supposed to pick from the bottom of the draft. But they're still there.
Yeah, but Brady's been around for how long?
Yeah. But they have.
But Brady can't tackle.
Yeah.
Brady can't catch.
I think a lot of it is just the culture of winning. The 49ers had it in the 80s. You come into that organization and you just believe it can happen. Conversely, you go to Oakland where the team is looking over its shoulder. How are we going to lose today? They're going to find a way to lose. They are going to find a way to lose, and they've got to get rid of that. How do you do that?
One of the things that you mentioned about guys getting hurt, that was one of my things here. Okay, 30-year-old Brent Grimes, cornerback. It's a 30-year-old cornerback. Okay, I can see that. For the Dolphins, signed a 4-year, $32 million deal after recovering from a torn Achilles in 2012.
Wow. That's hard to
believe.
But how much of that money is guaranteed?
You got to take a look at that contract. 4 years, $32 million. You don't know what. But you don't know what his base is.
He might get 1 year.
You don't know if it's incentive laden.
That's the NFL too for you, isn't it? I mean, there's so many guys. Oh, I signed this huge contract. Well, by the way, 1 year's guaranteed.
And I didn't know this. I thought when you sign a contract and then let's just say $7 million's guaranteed, I thought you walked into the bank with a check for, let's just say, $4.5 million by the time the government gets its cut. But no, it's spread out over the lifetime of the contract.
Yeah, that's right.
Ew. Okay, hey guys, we're going to head to our second commercial break here. Again, the theme is NCAA upsets. In the 1985 National Championship, Georgetown was denied a title again when which familiar foe made all but 1 second half shot, shooting 78% from the field for the game en route to a 66-64 upset. The first 3 emails with the correct answer.
You need to know the name of the team?
Correct.
Okay.
You got to win a free 3-day email. 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Georgetown in 1985. The national championship, Georgetown was denied a title again when which familiar foe that made all but 1 second half shot, shooting 78% from the field, that's phenomenal, en route to a 66-64 upset. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
That's NC State, isn't it?
No, Villanova.
Oh, that's right, Villanova. NC State, who did they beat? They beat
NC State beat Houston in 1983.
How long ago? That was Jim Valvano's big moment. And then he died.
Remember Georgetown was snake bit because they had lost earlier to North Carolina.
That's right. Was Michael Jordan there then?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And then they're in the championship game again, and they're heavily favored to beat Villanova, who played slow down and good defense.
Who was on that Villanova team anyway? Remember? Howard Porter, was he on that team?
Harold Presley, I believe. It's the one name that comes to mind.
It's always the guys, it's not always, but a lot of times the guys who excel in the postseason never make it in the pros either.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah, and then you do get a guy who's, is fantastic in the postseason and just has an amazing career. So who knows? Yeah, the Warriors should kill Orlando tonight. Orlando's just awful. They've lost, 19 out of 20 or something?
But these are the Warriors, so at least for a while they're going to play down to the level of their opponent.
Yeah, the other night
and
against
then the light bulb will go off, and then they'll.
Yeah, no.
I think not having Klay Thompson the other night hurt him a little bit, but that's still no excuse. You gotta, Klay Thompson. I tell you, that guy, if he played in Chicago or New York or LA, they'd be talking about raving about.
He was nice enough to record the Open to this really nice CYO piece that I put together.
Oh, nice. He's a good kid.
Next break, I'll show it to
and
you.
I say,
he seems like a very nice
I got to know his dad a little bit when I was working in Portland because his dad played up there. He was a young player. Nice guy. Very good family.
Good. Yeah, no, he seems like a nice
kid. Yeah, and Steph
too.
They're both from pro NBA, families.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, next to Vern Glenn. Bruce McGowan.
Yes, sir.
And here's our second commercial trivia question. NCAA upsets. In the 1985 National Championship, Georgetown was denied a title again which familiar foe that made all but one second half shot. That's amazing. Shooting 78% from the field for the game en route to a 66-64 upset.
78% in the game?
Yep.
That's but they only won by 2 points?
Yep.
What did the Georgetown end up shooting? Must have shot probably
less than 78%.
Was it 78% for the game or for the half, for the second half?
No, for the game.
For the game.
That's amazing.
Who was the team?
One of the Big Five schools out of Philadelphia, Villanova.
Villanova, that is correct. The next question is going to be hard. I'm going to tease you a little bit.
All right.
Okay. And we were talking about injuries and stuff. What about 38-year-old Peyton Manning completing his physical? Is he worth $20 million now?
Well, he got his team to a Super Bowl. I guess it's worth it for the.
Got his team to a Super Bowl. You could argue that he is from a player standpoint, he's the face of the National Football League. He's got a high Q rating. Everybody wants his name tied to their product. By the way, Peyton, if you're listening out there, if you'd like to advertise on Sports Econ 101, go ahead and call in.
Yeah, you're right. He's a high character guy.
He is, man.
He's a good guy.
I had the pleasure of meeting him in Pebble Beach for the recent Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Could not. Probably the nicest manner of being blown off I've ever experienced.
He put his hand on your shoulder and looked you in the eye and said, "Vernon, I'm sorry."
Well, he had just gotten there, and again, this is a week removed from losing the Super Bowl,
which was heartbreaking.
And he's on the putting green and he's putting or whatever. I'm one of a few cameras there early in the morning. It's like 7:00 in the morning, and there he is. And I'm there with my little camera gear just by myself, and he comes walking by, and I go, hey Peyton, you got a couple of questions, in you. I mean, I know you're doing your thing, and he's like, well, I'm about talked out right now, if you don't mind, and he walks on. That was it.
I think
I had to respect that.
I think he was still, just chafing from that loss. I mean, just what a humiliating show that was.
Yeah.
I mean, all the great things he's done in his career, it goes out. It wasn't entirely his fault, but he was complicit in that loss. No question.
From as soon as the safety,
you
knew it was over.
They pressured, they hit him. They did everything they could to try and rally him, and they did.
And it's got to drive him up the wall, even though he'll never admit it. That his brother, who is far less, I like his brother, but his brother's not in the same class. Has won 2 championships.
Yeah, but Peyton's at least won one.
He has won one. That's true, but still.
And you could argue the Giants as a team collectively, at least from a defensive standpoint, won those Super Bowls.
Yeah. Except for Tyree with the helmet against the helmet. That was pretty amazing. The lethargic Lakers. How bad are things?
Oh.
I'm reading this from
How
the
bad are
Sports
they?
Illustrated. Says,
They're saying
They're
they're saying this is the worst Laker team in franchise history.
And Kobe wants to come back next year and thinks that the team can actually be competitive. Come on.
Well, he has to. He has to.
I know he has to.
Have you seen what they're giving him every 2 weeks?
No,
I mean, he has to say that.
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
It says, how bad are things for the cellar dwellers? Again, I'm reading from ESPN from Sports Illustrated here. It says Pau Gasol called them out for lacking discipline, and Kobe Bryant reportedly unfollowed all of his teammates on Twitter.
He did.
That's funny.
So,
Well, they're lucky that the Clippers are doing so well because LA's got at least something to pay attention to now. You know.
no football team. So,
Yeah.
you wonder a situation like that. I mean, morale obviously is down. What does one do to change that?
Bring in a lot of new people, I guess.
Bringing guys who are hungry that really want to help turn it around. But I mean, you see the effect of a loss in a high caliber player, Kobe Bryant. You take him out of the mix, it just sucks the life right out of him.
Yeah.
So
because he does more than just score points. I mean, he does sort of create a pulse or create an attitude. And I think more in any other sport, basketball, you get that one guy. He can kind of create that atmosphere almost single-handedly.
Yeah, you look at all the great teams.
Yeah.
They got the one guy that can kind of put a team on their back and carry them. For the Lakers, they got nobody. Nobody.
Yeah, I guess, baseball, it's a little harder to do that.
It's harder, and it's impossible.
Baseball, you need everybody.
But I mean, look, the best players only get to bat 4 times a game, and the best pitchers only get to pitch once a week. So
Yeah.
Moving on here, a little different sport. Lance Armstrong says here.
Is he back in the
Is he
back in the news?
Oh, if he's in the news, he's in trouble.
Is he on the bike
It's probably
again?
not good. It's probably
But
not
says
good.
The attorneys for Lance Armstrong argued Friday that he shouldn't have to return to arbitration over $1 million bonuses he received for winning races, even if it was revealed later, years later, that the cyclist lied about taking performance-enhancing drugs.
He should keep the money. He should keep the money. He should keep the money. Yeah, years later, come on,
Oh, it's interesting. It says
How can they prove? I mean, theoretically, there's no proof that he didn't.
He put cycling on the map. He made it mainstream. He did all that work. I mean, let him keep the money. What the heck?
He's going to have to live with his own conscience. That's what his pain is.
If you romance a woman and give her the engagement ring,
Yeah, you got to let her have it.
you got to let her keep the ring.
Come on. Just give her something.
Come on.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you guys say he gets to keep the money, he gets to keep
Yeah,
the money.
let him have
That's
the money.
the rule of thumb here.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on here to spring training. It says it's funny. John Henry, Red Sox owner, responding on Twitter to the Marlins' demand that Boston apologize for sending a lineup full of prospects to a grapefruit
I love this.
league.
I know what you're going to say here.
And what did he say?
What did he say?
He said they should apologize for the regular season lineup.
They should. That's an embarrassment. Well, Jeffrey Loria is a terrible owner. I mean, he bought himself a championship years ago, and ever since.
And then had a fire sale. Won it, and then
he did the same thing that Huizinga did in 97? He had a fire sale, and Loria wins it in 2003. Then he has a fire. How can they have any kind of fan loyalty when they keep selling off all their good players?
Yeah, but what was the deal here where he's sending up a lineup full of prospects? So it sounded like, as I understand it, instead of sending regulars out to play the game, he just had a bunch of the prospects.
Well, it was split squad.
It's a split squad, though.
It was a split squad. So there were half the guys, all right, granted.
It's spring training.
Exactly.
Let them do what they want to do for training.
Well, you're thinking, again, this is coming from Jeffrey Loria, who's just an idiot. He's like James Dolan of the Knicks. I met Jeffrey Loria once. I was not impressed. Chris Coney.
Never met him.
We should talk about idiot owners sometime. I would love to do that. Because to be an idiot owner, you really have to be bad.
And rich and bad.
Yeah, rich and bad.
Actually, the guys for the Warriors are pretty good.
They're very after. Hey, look, they couldn't be anything but good after Chris Collian. What a disaster!
Well, here's the deal. You got 2 guys who understand, what the product is, and they understand what entertainment is, and they understand what they need to do to be some kind of a draw.
Yeah.
But one guy seems to be kind of quiet.
Well, he is more kind of the money guy, and Lacob's more the. It's not that Lacob doesn't have money, but Joe's more the front man.
Yeah, Joe pretty much.
Joe Lacob.
Yeah, he pretty much runs the team. He's there every night. I mean, the other guy, when he's got a break in Hollywood, you fly up and take in some of the games. The other guy knows entertainment. He knows, he's the one that's got, this club and that club and all that kind of that's kind of redone Oracle Arena. And I'll be brutally honest with you. I mean, I love Oakland, but they bought that team to move to San Francisco.
Oh, no question. But, I mean, again, it's such a breath of fresh air after Chris Coyne, who just was clueless. 16 years he had that team. They went to one playoff series. Actually, two. They won one series with the We Believe team. I mean, that guy was an idiot. The coaches would come and go. Players would come and go. I mean, he built a nice facility. And
you might want to call him an idiot, Bruce, but for what he bought the team and then sold the team.
Oh, I know. He made a lot of money.
No idiot.
No, he's not an idiot in terms of making money, but in terms of putting.
Well, that's what these guys know how to do.
And you know
that's how they get in the exclusive owners club.
And you know what's amazing? The Warriors actually drew good crowds during some of those awful years. That's a testament to his PR and to his promotional
that's
people.
Part of the money, though, because it only fits 20,000.
Yeah, they were getting like 15,000 though with a team that won 20 games. I mean, that's amazing to me.
And Lacob and the other owner,
Peter Goober. Yeah.
Real estate, right?
No. He's
Hollywood.
He's Hollywood. Yeah. He's Mandalay Entertainment. I mean, he's come out with all these blockbuster movies. Yeah.
That'll make you some scratch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You Google Peter Goober and you'll be like, he did that.
Well, where was Lacob though? What was his?
Well, Lacob owned, what was it, the Celtics? He was a part owner.
He was a part owner of the Celtics. And then
how did he make his other money though? I'm trying to remember. Was it real estate? He's a sharp guy.
We almost made a loan when we did our hard money loans. We almost made a loan to someone who was going to put up the Sacramento Kings, but they wouldn't.
The Maloof brothers?
Yeah. No. But it was before them. It was this is years ago. It was like someone who had an ownership interest. And he wanted
in the Kings.
Yeah, and he wanted to put up his share of it. And the rest of the team said, no, you can't, the owners, you can't do that. And suddenly it's like, if we would have had to foreclose, suddenly guess what? Hey, Edward Brown is now part of the owners. All right, guys, I'm going to run the show around here.
Right.
Okay, let's see, moving on here. Jose Fernandez, Marlins pitcher, that guy throws 103 miles per hour.
Yeah, Aroldis Chapman's got some company, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
There are a few guys that can do that. Rob Dibble was a guy I remember who used to do that. And he was crazy. That guy was nuts.
See, that'd be a little scary being in the box. Someone's a little crazy. And he was a little wild, too.
A little wild, yeah. I remember, I just always remember him against Barry Bonds, and Bonds, having this great duel with him one time and just finally hitting a home run off of it. It just was spectacular. It was one of those moments,
Yeah, what do they call the Nasty Boys?
The Nasty Boys.
The Nasty Boys.
Norm Charlton and Eddie Myers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the left-hander.
That's right. Okay, what do you think about, do the refs give preferential treatment to certain basketball coaches?
I think they do for home teams a lot. I'm not sure about coaches, but coaches that are good at knowing how to work with the refs, there's probably, wouldn't you think there's probably a little
refs
influence?
On coaches?
Yeah. Guys like, say, Phil Jackson was still in the league. I bet you he would get more calls going his way than oftentimes than not.
Yeah, he's going to get more calls, more leeway than the
rookie coach.
The new coach of the Celtics.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, right as I was writing this, Coach K got a for college.
Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip?
No, but I just read about the thing.
There was a timeout. Okay, he was upset, and he had a pen in his hand, and his back was to he was facing his team on the bench, and he threw a pen on the floor, and it skidded and popped up and hit one of his assistant coaches. But he was upset. Yeah. Well, a ref behind him, maybe 30 feet behind him, saw it, teed him up, and Coach K went nuts.
Where did the pen land up on the floor? I mean, on the basketball.
So it would be if the ref was over there, you're the assistant coach, bench is there, and I tossed it on the floor, and it kind of.
But did it go on the actual floor itself?
He threw it.
You know what I mean?
He threw it down. He threw the pen down toward the bench on the floor in disgust. Yeah. And it ricocheted and then off the leg of an assistant.
I guess the refs probably felt like this is Mike Krzyzewski. He's got to set a better example. People are watching. Maybe that's what the message was.
And it was a key moment in the ACC tournament final against Virginia.
How about what Jim Boeheim did with with Syracuse.
That was great. That was great. Even he
cost him the game.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that's been around for. He
Okay,
runs
you know,
on.
you know,
He
I
screams.
tell you what. Let's get when we come back from the last commercial break, we'll get into that.
Okay.
All right. Here's our third and final trivia question: which Mid-American Conference member eliminated Duke in the 1996 tournament behind diminutive point guard Earl Boykins?
Oh, the former Warrior.
Earl Boykins, the former Warrior.
5'3", I think, right?
Yeah. He's
an amazing
he's
player.
good.
Was. I'm not sure
Okay,
he's still
I don't think so. But the first three emails with the correct answer, get a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: which Mid-American Conference member eliminated Duke in the 1996 tournament behind diminutive point guard Earl Boykins? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments.
Well, then you got to think of the schools in the Mid-American Conference.
The Mid-American Conference.
And is that school today in the Mid-American Conference?
I think so.
I can't.
Sorry,
Well,
I'm not trying to be
I'm going
evasive.
to take a pass on this one. I can't. I have no idea. Unless you name some
Well,
names.
you don't go for college basketball anyway.
Well, yeah, I used to, but I
really?
can't think of who's in the Mid-American Conference, Bert.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I can't.
University of Cincinnati.
I can't name one. I can't
I
name
think
one
University
school
of
in America.
Cincinnati is. I think they're in.
The reason I had this question is because they're Earl Boykins. I need to know.
Oh yeah. I remember him in college. I don't remember him. So he was on a national championship team?
No.
Oh, they knocked him out.
They
That's
just
right.
eliminated Duke during
I
the
do
tournament.
remember Kentucky losing early, but I just don't remember who beat him.
No, it was Duke.
I mean Duke. I'm sorry. Yeah, Duke losing early, but I can't remember who beat him.
Okay, so we only have like a minute and a half on this one. So you want to talk about Syracuse?
Sure.
Very good.
Very good.
So I'll have to get some owners on the show.
Did you confirm? Is the school still in the Mid-American Conference?
I'll do it after this. It was 1996.
1996.
A lot of schools change.
That's true.
A lot of schools change conferences.
It
Happens every year.
It was back then.
I was a newlywed in 1996. Well, practically. I got married
1996. That was my 6th year at Cron.
Oh my God.
I got married in 89. 96, that was a good year. It was just before Sarah was born. Okay.
Did you get married pre or post Loma Prieta?
In fact, 3 days before.
3 days before.
So you were on your honeymoon, huh?
Wow.
People thought I was the cause of it. In fact, it's wild. We were in Hawaii.
When it happened?
And we were in, but that morning, I remember waking up to a huge, this is
Earthquake.
You were probably thinking, man, he's good. I didn't know he was that good. Shit.
Listen, I told her, I gave the best porridge of the refrigerator.
That's right. Damn straight.
I remember when it happened, because I was covering that thing. The crowd went crazy and started cheering.
Really?
Yeah, because nobody thought it was that big a deal. And then about 20 minutes later, everybody starts milling around, and there's this big column of smoke out beyond the left field wall. Oh, there's a fire in the marina. Oh, the collapse of the freeway, and there's
Well, we were watching. I was watching the game. Theoretically the game, and Al Michaels comes on, and then says, "I think there was an earthquake." Blah blah blah.
They actually got knocked off the air.
Yeah, and then it comes back on. I was getting calls from New York saying, "Oh my God," because my aunt said, "Oh my God, I heard Golden Gate Bridge fell into the water."
No, I know.
I'm curious. Now, did you get Ted Koppel almost right away? Once you got a picture back?
Boy, it's been a while. I think so.
I saw the same. I was in Baltimore. Same thing in my apartment, watching the whole thing, and then all of a sudden, I think we're having an earth. And then it was folks, we either had an earthquake, or you just saw the greatest open to a World Series, and then it goes from right that to Ted Koppel in Washington. And that's what we got for the rest.
I can't remember. It might have stayed with Al Michaels.
We got Ted Koppel, and then they finally he vamped for a little bit, and then they finally got the blimp pictures up because they had the Goodyear blimp.
That's right.
And then they got Al Michaels to the truck.
Yeah.
Because Al Michaels was the voice of the Giants for 8 years, and so he knew the area, and he could tell you everything that was going on.
It's interesting about that. I just started Camp Yard. We had just started our all sports format 2 weeks before, so it was perfect timing. We still had a news department, and we were the only station that was on the air. All the other stations were knocked off the air temporarily. So we were on throughout, and we were still there. Ralph Barbieri, Pat Olson, myself, and Gene Washington were at the stadium until they kicked us out. But they made us leave. It
Well,
was
yeah,
dark by
they're not
the time.
dangerous and all that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, they just wanted to get out of there. We could have stayed there forever. We wanted to. Bob Agnew was loving it. He was going, great. We're number one.
Yeah.
Everybody's listening to the radio.
Everybody's listening to us. They're listening to
all
us.
you.
Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan.
What's so good about it?
It's always good around here. All right, here's our third and final commercial break trivia question. Again, the theme is NCAA upsets. Which Mid-American Conference member eliminated Duke in the 1996 tournament behind diminutive point guard Earl Boykins?
Got no
Man,
clue.
I have no. It's got to be some school like Eastern
Like
Illinois or
Eastern
something.
Michigan.
Eastern Michigan.
Good job.
Okay.
We'll give you
Yeah,
half
there you
credit for that because you had
There
the
you go.
Eastern part correct.
Eastern Michigan.
Okay, now, Bruce, before we cut the break, you were starting to talk about
Oh,
Syracuse and what happened.
Well, a couple weeks back, there was a bad call that went against Syracuse, and Jim Boeheim was in a tight game. And I always thought this guy was pretty composed. He went absolutely berserk, ran out of the court. I don't know what he said, but he got himself kicked out of the game. A technical was called, and they lost the game. And it just goes to show you that even the most composed, together, respected coaches can sometimes come unglued.
That would be neat.
That might have been the beginning of the end for Syracuse because
Yeah.
they'd won every game.
Yeah,
They were number one in the nation.
Well, I think that's the thing that bothered him was that that here was a bad or potentially bad call that was ruining a potentially great season. So he just couldn't handle it.
Well, all right. Thank my co-hosts here, Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan, for being in the studio again.
Always a pleasure
Always a
talking
pleasure.
with you. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thoughts for the day. Martina Navratilova said, "I'm not involved in a sport. I'm committed. Do you know the difference? Think of eggs and ham. The chicken is involved, but the pig is committed."
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And Wayne.
She said that?
She said that. Yeah.
Wow.
And Wayne Gretzky said, "A good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going."
Going to be.
Oh, yes.
Very smart.
Very smart.
Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye, America.
So long. I like that.
So do people take advantage and go up to the lighthouse?